Chicago, late November. Thick snow blanketed the suburban streets of Schaumburg, covering the two-story colonial-style roofs, including the one I used to call home. Inside, the smell of roasted turkey and pumpkin pie couldn't chase away the freezing air. Not from the weather, but from the stack of bright red bills scattered across the dining table. I'm Hailey Reynolds, 22, a senior marketing major at the University of Illinois at Chicago. I work part-time as a barista at the Starbucks near Woodfield Mall, pulling 8-hour shifts where my feet swell so bad that by the time I get home, all I want to do is collapse into bed. But tonight, I wasn't allowed to rest. I just pushed through the door, my coat still dripping with melted snow, when my mom, Lauren Reynolds, 48, a senior teller at the local Chase Bank branch, blocked my path holding a thick stack of papers.
"Welcome home, Miss Independent," she said, her voice sweet like a razor blade. "Here, your mail." She shoved the pile of overdue bells straight into my chest. ComEd, Nicor Gas, 2 Capital One cards, 1 Discover, all in the name of Hailey M. Reynolds, totaling over $6,400. I was still in my green uniform, name tag covered in caramel macchiato stains. "I already paid the electric bill last month," I said, my voice hoarse from exhaustion. "Yeah, well, pay it again," she shrugged. "If you're so smart, pay your own bills." My dad, Mark, 50, a remote software engineer for a company in California, was slouched in the corner of the sofa, eyes glued to his laptop screen like he was coding the entire world. He didn't look up, just let out that familiar sigh, the one I'd heard since I was 12 every time Mom was about to explode. My older sister Madison, 25, still living at home despite graduating from community college 3 years ago, was sprawled on the armchair, scrolling TikTok. When Mom finished, she smirked without looking up from her phone. "Yeah, stop being a freeloader, Hailey. Some of us actually contribute around here." "Contribute?" I repeated, my voice shaking with anger. "Who pays for the Wi-Fi you're using to scroll TikTok? Who pays for the Netflix the whole family watches? Who gives Mom $700 every month from my tips to cover the mortgage?" Dead silence. Just the hum of the fridge and the snow tapping against the windows. Mom took another step closer, her eyes blazing like they always did before she erupted. "You think you're better than us because you go to college? Newsflash, sweetheart, your fancy student loans are the only thing keeping this roof over our heads. So if you're so grown, then act like it. Pay your own bills." Something inside me shattered. Not with crying, not with screaming, just a quiet click in my head, like a switch flipping. I didn't say another word. I walked straight upstairs, dragged my old suitcase out from under the bed, and stuffed in clothes, chargers, my MacBook, and the only family photo I had left, the one of all 4 of us at Navy Pier when I was 10. Back when Mom still smiled for real, Dad still had his arm around her, and Madison still held my hand. Now it was just the past. Mom followed me down the hallway. "Hailey Marie Reynolds, you walk out that door and you're done. You hear me? Done." I paused at the bottom of the stairs, turned to look at all 3 of them. Mom red-faced, Dad staring at the floor, Madison glued to her phone. "Fine," I said, my voice calmer than I felt. "I'll pay my own everything, including my freedom." I opened the front door. The November wind slapped my face, snow blowing straight into the house. I dragged my suitcase through the 6-inch layer of snow, not looking back. Mom's yelling echoed behind me. "You'll come crawling back in a week, you'll see." But the door had already slammed shut. I walked nearly a mile to the metro station, snow soaking through my Converse. My phone buzzed nonstop. Text from Mom, from Madison, even from Dad. One line, "Let's talk when you calm down." I turned it off. 11:30 p.m., I knocked on the door of a tiny apartment in Logan Square, downtown Chicago. Sophie, my classmate from statistics, the only person who knew the full horror story, opened the door in her lacy Christmas pajamas, eyes wide. "Oh my God, Hailey, you actually did it." I stood there, shivering from the cold and the adrenaline still racing through my veins.
Yeah, I said, my breath turning to white smoke in the -4 degrees Fahrenheit air. I just paid the biggest bill of my life, the one that says I'm done being their ATM. Sophie pulled me inside and closed the door behind us. Outside, the snow kept falling, erasing my footprints on the sidewalk, like no one had walked out of that house tonight. But I had, and I had no intention of going back. I sat in Sophie's tiny living room, wrapped in a fleece blanket, holding a steaming mug of coffee she'd made. The night I left home, I told Sophie everything, from the Thanksgiving fight to my sudden decision to walk out. She listened without judgment, just nodding and saying, "You did what you had to." But to understand why I did it, why one sentence, "pay your own bills," pushed me over the edge, I need to tell you about my family. Not a broken family in the Hollywood sense, where Dad walks out. No, my family was intact. Mom, Dad, sister, me. But intact in that Midwestern American way, where everything looks stable on the outside, but inside it's a ticking debt bomb. The Reynolds family lived in Schaumburg, a Chicago suburb, in a 3-bedroom house bought in 2005, right before the 2008 recession hit. My dad, Mark, used to be a software engineer for a big downtown firm, 6-figure salary, enough for Mom to stay home with us kids. But then the recession came. Dad was laid off temporarily, freelancing sporadically for 2 years. Mom, Lauren, who'd only worked part-time at the bank, suddenly became the breadwinner. She started controlling everything, the budget, spending, even our allowance money. "We're a team," she'd say, but that team quickly turned into Lauren decides everything. My older sister Madison, 3 years ahead of me, was spoiled from the start. She was the princess of the house, pretty, bubbly, but lazy. After graduating community college with a graphic design degree, she only did sporadic freelance work, mostly sitting at home doodling on her iPad and scrolling Instagram. Mom always defended her. Madison's finding her inspiration. Me? From age 16, I was put on family budget duty. Mom forced me into summer jobs at Woodfield Mall, selling ice cream at Baskin-Robbins, standing 8 hours in the Illinois summer heat. My first paycheck was $300. I came home excited, but Mom took it all. This goes to the family pot, Hailey. We all contribute. And that contribute never stopped. Mom used credit cards in my name, the first one I opened at 18 to build credit, for shopping for Madison. Black Friday every year was a nightmare. Mom and Madison hitting Best Buy, Target, buying a new TV, a laptop for Madison, for freelancing, even Taylor Swift concert tickets. "It's an investment," Mom would say, but the bills came to me. Dad Mark knew. He saw the statements coming to the house, but he pretended not to. "Let Mom handle the finances," he'd mumble, then go back to coding. I relied on Pell Grants and student loans to attend UIC, aid meant for low-income students, but Mom forced me to use part of it for the house mortgage. "The house is for all of us," she'd say. "You live here rent-free, so pitch in." I'd protest, "But that's my education money." Mom would smirk. "Education? You think college makes you better than us? Look at Madison. She's creative without debt." And Madison was openly jealous. She'd say, "Hailey gets all the attention because she's the smart one, but who pays for her tuition? Family money." Mom's change hurt the most. Before the recession, she was the classic warm Midwestern mom, baking oatmeal cookies every weekend, driving us to Cubs games at Wrigley Field, hosting potlucks with neighbors. She'd hug me and say, "You're my little achiever." But after Dad lost his job, she hardened. Every setback, late bills, car repairs, even gas price hikes, became someone's fault, usually mine. If you didn't spend on those fancy lattes at work, she'd blame me, even though I only bought the cheapest black coffee. I remember one dinner last year, we were eating spaghetti from a Costco box because Mom was budgeting. I excitedly told them about a $2,000 scholarship from school. Madison cut me off. "Oh, great. Little Miss Perfect gets more money. Meanwhile, I'm struggling with my art gigs." Dad, Mark, tried to mediate. "Girls, let's not fight. Hailey, that's great news. Maybe we can use it for the car payment?" I was shocked. "Dad, that's for my tuition." Mom jumped in. "Family first, Hailey. Madison needs new software for her designs. You're not contributing enough as it is." Madison smirked. Dad went back to eating. I swallowed my tears and handed over the money. Those moments made me feel less like a daughter and more like a bad investment. Mom blamed me for not contributing enough, even though I worked double shifts on weekends, studied late, and gave 60% of my paycheck to the house. Dad was passive. He loved us, but he was terrified of confronting Mom. Madison? She benefited, shopping with my money, then resented me for trying too hard. Full family on paper, but I felt like I was living in a quiet prison where love was measured in dollars. That night at Sophie's, lying on the sofa staring at the ceiling, I whispered, "They think I'm ungrateful." Sophie shook her head. "No, Hailey, you're just done being their safety net." And she was right. Mom's words, "pay your own bills," weren't the first time, but they were the last straw. They pushed me out the door, but they also showed me clearly. I had to save myself before I could save them. The morning after I left, I woke up on Sophie's old sofa in Logan Square while the whole city was still asleep under thick snow. Sophie had left for class early, leaving a cold cup of coffee and a note. "Fridge has eggs. You're safe here. Love you." I sat there in her oversized hoodie for the first time in 22 years with no one yelling at me for money. The feeling was both relieving and strangely empty. I turned on my phone. 47 unread messages. "Mom, Lauren, you're killing your father." Madison, "Selfish bitch, hope you freeze out there." Dad, Mark, "Please come home, we can talk." I turned off notifications, then opened Reddit, the thing I'd only dare read on the subway before. I went straight to the 2 subs I'd followed for years, but never posted in, "Our Personal Finance" and "Are Raised by Narcissists." I read obsessively. One post, "My mom opened 6 credit cards in my name while I was in college." Another, "Parents made me co-sign their mortgage at 19. I'm 28 and still paying." Hundreds of comments, "Freeze your credit, file FTC identity theft report, remove yourself from all utilities." My hands shook as I read. I wasn't crazy. This had a name, financial abuse. That evening, Sophie came home with a bag of Chipotle and a cheap bottle of wine. I told her everything, from Mom using my student loans for the mortgage to Madison once booking Coachella tickets on my Apple Card. Sophie's eyes widened. "Wait, so your name is still on the ComEd bill? On the mortgage? On the Xfinity account?" I nodded. Sophie smiled sadly. "Girl, I've been there. My ex added me to his lease, then ghosted and left me paying everything. The only question I asked him before blocking, why not remove my name from everything?" That question hit me like a slap. Why not remove my name from everything? That night on the sofa, I started wondering, if I removed my name from everything, what would happen? The power would get cut on a -4 Fahrenheit night in Chicago. The house could go into foreclosure if Mom missed mortgage payments. Madison wouldn't have Wi-Fi to stream Netflix. Dad would have to face Mom instead of hiding behind his laptop. And for the first time, I wasn't scared. I felt light. I remembered something from last year. Madison wanted $128 Lululemon leggings. Mom told me, "Add it to your card, I'll Venmo you later." I did. The Venmo never came. Madison wore them to the gym, and I paid 24.99% interest. When I brought it up, she shrugged. "You make more than me anyway." I opened my laptop, went to Experian, and pulled a free credit report. My score, 582, down from 750 my freshman year. I almost cried. But then I opened a new tab, How to Remove Yourself from Utility Accounts in Illinois. Another, How to File Identity Theft Affidavit, FTC. Another, Illinois Eviction Process for Non-Payment. I wasn't the scared 16-year-old whose tip money Mom used to snatch. I was Hailey Reynolds, 22, with a social security number, a credit history, and for the first time in my life, power. I texted Sophie at 2 a.m. "If I stop shielding them, will they finally feel the cold?" She replied instantly, "Yes, and you'll finally feel warm." I turned off the light,
pulled the blanket to my chin and listened to the L train rumbling outside. For the first time in years, I slept well. Not because I wasn't tired, but because I just found my plan. I would stop shielding them. I would let them pay the price for the bills they always made me pay. And if they lost it when they no longer had me as a buffer, that was the price they had to pay. Sunday, 9 a.m. The Reynolds family was at church like every week, the Midwestern habit Mom Lauren kept since I was in Sunday school dresses. I knew exactly. They left at 8:45 and returned at 11:30 because Mom stayed for coffee with the women's group. I borrowed Sophie's zip car, drove back to Schaumburg in -10-degree Fahrenheit weather, heart pounding like I was committing a crime. The house was eerily quiet. The smell of cinnamon rolls lingered from breakfast, but no Madison's TV or Dad's keyboard clacking. I went upstairs to my old room. Everything was exactly the same. Harry Styles posters, Target rug, and the desk where I used to cry over bills. I only planned to grab winter clothes, textbooks, and my personal documents box, but when I pulled open the desk drawer, I found a thick stack of envelopes rubber banded together, scrawled in blue pen. Hailey, do not throw away. I sat on the floor and opened them one by one. First envelope, Chase Freedom Unlimited, approved 09-2023, limit $9,500. Latest statement, $8,742 balance. Biggest charge, $1,299 at Apple Store, Oakbrook. iPhone 15 launch day. I hadn't been to Oakbrook in over a year. Second, Wells Fargo personal loan, $12,000. Cosigner, Mark Reynolds. Reason, home improvement and family vacation. My signature, but the handwriting was stiff, not my soft loops. I recognized it instantly. Mom's, when she tried to copy mine. Third, Capital One Venture, $6,200 balance. Charges, 5-night Airbnb in Miami, Universal Studios Orlando tickets, family of 4. I didn't go on that trip. I was studying for finals. But Madison had posted Instagram pics, the whole family grinning by the hotel pool. Caption, family vacay courtesy of Hailey's Good Credit.com. I kept going. Discover It, Amex Gold, even a $3,000 PayPal credit for Coachella tickets for Madison and friends, all in Hailey Marie Reynolds, SSN ending 6719, exact birth date. My hands shook so bad I tore the next envelope. A paper fell out. Application for Chase limit increase. Signed, Hailey Reynolds, in Dad's handwriting. I recognized the long Y tail from when he used to sign my school checks. Dad knew. Dad signed too. I sat in the middle of my childhood bedroom floor, surrounded by my own family's crime scene. It wasn't just Mom. Dad and Madison were in on it too. They'd used my name like an endless ATM while I poured lattes for strangers at $11.25 per hour plus tips. Flashbacks hit like fast forward. Mom having me sign routine college forms freshman year, actually credit card applications. Dad saying, sign here, honey, just to help with car insurance. Actually, co-signing a loan. Madison grinning, let me borrow your ID for this online purchase. I'll pay you back. Then forgetting. Family first, Mom always said when I questioned it. Now I understood. Family first meant Hailey last. I stuffed all the envelopes into my backpack, ran downstairs, snapped quick photos of the fridge covered in Disney pics, the trip I wasn't invited to because you have to work overtime. Then I bolted to the car, drove back to Logan Square, tears stinging from the cold wind and rage. When I got home, Sophie was making brunch. I dumped the entire pile of papers on the table like a murder scene. Jesus Christ, Hailey, Sophie whispered when she saw the Miami Airbnb statement. I pointed to Dad's forged signature on the loan app. Even Dad. Sophie hugged me while I sobbed on her shoulder. They didn't just use me, I choked out. They sold my future. For vacations I didn't go on. For phones I didn't use. For a life they told me I was too selfish to deserve. Sophie grabbed tape and started sticking statements on the kitchen wall like an investigation board. Then we fight back, she said, legally, cleanly, and without mercy. I wiped my tears and looked at my family's wall of crimes. For the first time, I didn't feel guilty.
I only felt angry and a plan forming. They had stolen my identity. Now it was my turn to take it back. I spent the entire next week turning pain into evidence. Monday, 6 a.m., I opened my laptop at Sophie's table and went to annualcreditreport.com. Equifax loaded painfully slow. When the numbers appeared, I almost threw up. Credit score, 518, down from 752 in less than 3 years. Hard inquiries, 14 in the last 18 months, all on days I was at school or work. Accounts, 9 credit cards plus 2 personal loans plus 1 auto loan cosign. Turns out Madison's new Jeep had my name on it too. I screenshotted every page, saved PDFs, printed 47 pages, and organized them into a black folder with "Do Not Bend" that Sophie bought at Target. Next, the phone. I exported every text from Madison demanding money. "Hey, can you sell me $400? I'm short for rent. For my Adobe subscription, lol. Mom said use your card for groceries this month, 'kay? Thanks." "Stop being dramatic. It's family money."
Mom's voicemails were worst. I played them on speaker so Sophie could hear. "Hailey, if you don't send $800 by Friday, we lose the house. Do you want your father to have a heart attack? Call me back, you ungrateful child." I saved all 23 voicemails to Google Drive, folder named Guilt Trip Archive. Wednesday, I went to the Illinois Legal Aid Clinic on West Madison, an old brick building near UIC East Campus. I wore a hoodie and jeans, trying to look normal, even though my hands shook holding the folder. The lawyer who took my case was Marisol Ortega, about 40, with a fast Chicago accent. I placed the black folder on the table. Marisol flipped through for 15 minutes without a word, just and notes. Finally, she looked up. "This is textbook identity theft under federal law. And because your parents are the perpetrators, it also qualifies as familial identity theft, sadly common but very prosecutable. You have 4 strong options. File an FTC identity theft report immediately. This is your golden ticket. It creates an official record and gives you rights under the Fair Credit Reporting Act. Place fraud alerts plus credit freeze on all 3 bureaus. Dispute every single fraudulent account. We'll draft the letters today. If you want, we can file a police report and pursue criminal charges. That part is up to you." I swallowed hard. Criminal charges? Against my own mom? Marisol looked me dead in the eye. Against the woman who committed felony fraud in your name. Biology doesn't get a free pass to ruin your life for the next 15 years. She handed me the FTC affidavit template and walked me through filing online right there. In 20 minutes, I had identitytheft.gov report number, ID 22011407. I printed it and stapled it to the folder like a shield. Friday, I booked a free therapy session at UIC's counseling center. The therapist was Dr. Patel, Indian American, with a warm voice like Mom used to have. I told her everything, from being put on family budget at 16 to the Thanksgiving bill pile. Dr. Patel nodded, taking fast notes. "What you're experiencing is a classic financial abuse cycle, Hailey. It has 4 stages. Grooming. They normalized you giving money from a young age. Exploitation. They escalated to fraud. Control. Guilt, fear, obligation. Discarding. When you set boundaries, they call you selfish." She handed me a handout from the National Domestic Violence Hotline, titled "Financial Abuse is Domestic Abuse." I read it and felt chills. Signs. Forbidding access to money, ruining your credit, using your credit cards without permission. Long-term effects. Homelessness, PTSD, decades of debt. Dr. Patel ended the session with a line that made me sob. "Hailey, love doesn't cost a credit score. You're not abandoning them. You're refusing to let them drown you to keep themselves afloat." Back at Sophie's, I taped the FTC report to the wall next to the Chase statements and Dad's forged signatures. Sophie brought Miller Lite. We clinked bottles. "To evidence," she said. "To never paying for their vacations again," I replied. By 11 p.m., the black folder was thick. Credit reports. FTC report. 47 pages of statements. 23 voicemail transcripts. Dispute letter templates for 9 accounts. Contact info for Marisol and Dr. Patel. I looked at that stack and for the first time felt like I wasn't the victim anymore. I was the one holding the proof. And proof doesn't lie, even when family does for 22 years. Monday the following week, I woke up at 5 a.m. before Sophie even stirred. Today was D-Day, the day I officially cut the 22-year financial umbilical cord. Step 1, banking. I took the red line downtown to the Loop, walked into a Bank of America branch on LaSalle. My checking account opened at 16, Mama's joint owner, had exactly $43.72 left. I handed the teller my FTC report and Marisol's letter. I need to close this account immediately and open a new one. Solo, no joint owners. The teller looked at the papers, nodded without questions. 20 minutes later, the old account was dead. The new one was born. Chase Total Checking, Hailey Reynolds only. I changed my Starbucks and financial aid direct deposits on the app. Step 2, utilities. Back at Sophie's, I sat with black coffee in my list of companies. I started with ComEd, Chicago Electric. ComEd, this is Ashley. How can I help? Hi, Ashley. Account number 600-411-9876. I need to remove my name, Hailey Reynolds, from this account effective immediately. A second of silence, then typing. Okay, ma'am, I show 2 names, Lauren Reynolds and Hailey Reynolds. Removing you will leave Lauren as sole responsible party. If the balance goes unpaid, service will be disconnected after the standard notice period. Are you sure? I took a deep breath, pictured Mom Lauren standing in a dark kitchen in -4°F Chicago. No power, no heat. Yes, I said, my voice steadier than I expected. That's on them now. Removal processed. You're all set. Next was Nicor Gas, heating, then Xfinity, internet plus cable, Madison's Lifeline. Same script. Remove my name. Remaining parties solely responsible. Yes, I understand. Finally, the lease. The Schaumburg house was on a 3-year contract with the Zillow management company. I called the property manager, Kayla. Sweet Midwestern voice. Hi, Kayla. This is Hailey Reynolds, co-signer on 1427 Willow Creek Lane. I'm submitting a formal request to be removed from the lease. Got it. Illinois law allows removal with 30-day notice and proof you no longer reside there. Send me a utility bill or mail at your new address, plus ID, and we'll process. I emailed a phone bill photo showing the Logan Square address and a scanned ID. Kayla replied in 5 minutes. Removal effective January 15th. After that, Lauren Reynolds is the sole tenant and 100% responsible for rent and damages. I hung up and sat frozen on the sofa. I had just done 4 things I once thought would destroy the family, and I was still breathing. Sophie came home at 6 p.m. and saw me surrounded by confirmation papers. How do you feel? She asked. I was honest, terrified, and free, like I just jumped off a cliff and realized I can fly. I knew what was coming. Power cut when Mom couldn't pay the $427 overdue bill. Internet shut off, Madison losing her mind. If Mom missed the $2,400 per month rent, eviction notice taped to the door before Lunar New Year. And for the first time ever, no one could blame me. I opened the Chase app and looked at my new balance. $0.00. But for the first time, it was mine alone. No one could touch it. No one could use it for Coachella or Florida trips. I texted Marisol. All accounts removed. I'm officially off the hook. She replied instantly. Good. Now watch them learn what consequences feel like. I set the phone down and looked out the window. Snow was falling again. But this time I wasn't cold. I had just paid the biggest bill of my life, the one for freedom. And for the first time, I was the only one who got to decide who used my name. January 18th, Chicago hit record cold, -9°F, wind chill -31°F. I was folding my Starbucks uniform after my afternoon shift when my phone blew up with calls. Unknown number, 847 area code, Schaumburg. I knew exactly who it was. I took a deep breath, put it on speaker so Sophie could hear, and answered. Hailey Marie Reynolds. Mom Lauren's voice cracked, pure panic. Background noise? Howling wind and Madison screaming distantly. It's fucking freezing in here. Mom? I asked calmly. Power's out. The whole house is dark. The heat's off. I can't even charge my phone. What did you do? I heard Dad Mark in the background, voice hoarse. Lauren, give me the phone. Mom kept yelling. ComEd said the account holder removed herself and there's a past due balance of $687. They won't turn it back on until it's paid in full. We're going to freeze to death because of you. I looked at Sophie. She gave me a thumbs up, mouthing, "You got this." I kept my voice even, almost gentle. I removed my name from the account, Mom, just like you told me to do. You said pay your own bills, so I did. Now you get to pay yours. 1 second of dead silence.
Then Mom exploded. "You ungrateful little. After everything we sacrificed for you, I raised you alone while your father sat on his ass." Dad Mark grabbed the phone, voice shaking from cold and anger. "Hailey, honey, please, just pay it this one time. I'll pay you back, I swear. It's dangerous. The pipes could freeze. Your mother could get hypothermia." Madison snatched it, screeching, "You selfish bitch! You did this on purpose. You want us to die so you can feel better about your pathetic little life in that shitty apartment. I hope you rot." My heart raced, but it wasn't fear anymore. It was a different kind of adrenaline. I spoke slowly, clearly. "Madison, the last iPhone you bought with my card was $1,399. The Miami trip you posted on Instagram, $4,200 on my Wells Fargo loan. You want heat? Sell the Apple Watch I never wore, or get a real job." Madison screamed a string of curses. I heard Mom sobbing, Dad whispering, "Jesus Christ, it's so cold," and Madison slamming things. Mom took the phone back, voice shifting to pleading. "Baby, please. I'm sorry I yelled on Thanksgiving. Just send the money. We're a family. Families help each other." I smiled faintly, the first time all month. "You stopped being my family the day you forged my signature for a Disney vacation I wasn't invited to. I'm done helping. Pay your own bills. Goodbye." I was about to hang up when Dad yelled, "If you hang up, you're dead to us. You hear me? Dead to us." I paused for a second. That line used to destroy me. Now it didn't. "No, Dad," I replied. "You died to me the day you co-signed a loan in my name so Madison could have a new MacBook. Have a nice cold night." I ended the call. The room was silent. Sophie stared at me, eyes huge. "Holy shit, Hailey! You are ice cold." I sat on the sofa, hands still shaking, but from relief. "They lost it," I whispered, exactly like I knew they would. My phone buzzed with 38 missed calls and a flood of texts in the next 10 minutes. "Mom, you're killing us." "Madison, I'm telling everyone what a monster you are." "Dad, this isn't you, Hailey. Come home." I blocked them all, one by one, without hesitation. Sophie grabbed 2 spotted cows from the fridge and clinked bottles with me. "To the first night they sleep without your money keeping them warm." We laughed, even though I knew they were genuinely freezing 40 miles away. I looked out the window, snow still falling thick, but this time I was inside an apartment with lights on, heat blasting, and bills and exactly one name. Mine. They had completely lost it. And I had just found myself.
3 days after the power outage night, the Reynolds family Facebook exploded. Madison posted a long rant in the private Reynolds Family Heart group, 27 members, aunts and uncles from Illinois to Wisconsin. "Just so everyone knows, my little sister Hailey has officially abandoned us. She cut the power in the middle of the coldest week in Chicago history because she's tired of helping. Mom is literally crying in the dark right now while Hailey lives her best life downtown. Pray for us." Post included a photo of Mom Lauren huddled on the sofa wrapped in blankets, holding her phone flashlight. Caption, "This is what ungrateful looks like." Comments flooded in. Aunt Cheryl, Uncle's wife in Naperville. "Oh, honey, I'm so sorry." Aunt Diane, Mom's sister. "That's disgraceful. Blood doesn't act like that." Uncle Bill. "Kids these days." I read it and smirked. Perfect timing. I texted Aunt Teresa, the one aunt I still trusted, who lived in Arlington Heights, 20 minutes from Schaumburg. "Can I come over tonight? I have something the whole family needs to see." Teresa replied instantly, "Doors open, sweetheart. Bring hot chocolate."
7 p.m. Saturday, I drove the zip car to her house, a cozy ranch with late Christmas lights still up. Smell of beef stew and cinnamon rolls wafted out. Teresa hugged me tight. "You look thin. Come in." But it wasn't just Teresa. Mom Lauren, Dad Mark, Madison, Aunt Diane, Uncle Bill, and even Grandma Gladys, 89, flown in from Florida for the crisis, were all there. They sat around the oak dining table, faces grim like a funeral. Madison saw me walk in with a thick black folder and smirked. "Oh, look, the prodigal daughter finally shows up." I set the folder on the table with a soft thud everyone heard.
Since Madison already told her version on Facebook, I started, voice steady. I figured the family deserves the receipts. I opened the folder and pulled out neatly tabbed sections. Credit reports, 518 score, 9 credit cards, 2 loans. Official FTC identity theft report. Chase statement, $1,299 iPhone 15 Pro Max for Madison. Wells Fargo statement, $4,200 Airbnb plus Universal Orlando the week I had finals. And the best, screenshot of Madison's 2024 Coachella Tier 1 tickets she flexed on Insta, paid with Hailey Reynolds Apple Card. I placed the Coachella screenshot right in front of Madison. $1,799 plus fees. You posted this with the caption, "Thank you, baby sis, for the early B-Day gift." Remember? Madison turned red, stammering. Mom said it was okay. We were going to pay you back. Mom Lauren jumped in, shrill. "Everything I did was for this family. Hailey was never home anyway. She wouldn't even notice." I hit play on my phone speaker, an old voicemail from Mom. "If you don't send $800 by Friday, we lose the house. Do you want your father to have a heart attack?" Then another text from Madison. "Just use your card. It's not like you're paying interest anyway." The table went dead silent. Grandma Gladys, who never spoke ill of anyone, whispered, "Lauren, you forged her signature?" I turned to Dad Mark and placed the loan app with his forged signature on the table. "Dad, you co-signed a $12,000 loan so Madison could upgrade her setup? Did you ever ask me?" Dad stared at the floor, speechless. Aunt Teresa flipped through statements, eyes widening. $2,400 at Sephora? $1,100 at Lululemon? This isn't survival, Lauren. This is theft. Madison shot up. "She's exaggerating. She's always been dramatic." I placed one more paper. ComEd confirmation. Service restored yesterday after Teresa wired a temporary payment. "I didn't cut the power to hurt you," I said. "I cut it because you told me to pay my own bills, so I stopped paying yours." Aunt Diane, who defended Mom on Facebook days ago, went pale. I didn't know it was this bad." Mom Lauren broke down crying, but this time it wasn't an act. "I was scared. After your father lost his job in 2008, I panicked. I didn't know how to survive." I looked her straight in the eye. "You didn't panic, Mom. You planned for 6 years, and you used me as the plan." Grandma Gladys stood up on her cane, voice trembling but firm. "Lauren, you will pay back every cent, or you will do it without my Social Security checks propping you up anymore." Madison tried to argue more, but Teresa raised her hand. "Enough. Hailey, honey, I'm so sorry we didn't see sooner." I nodded and gathered my papers. "I'm not here to beg for apologies. I'm here so no one can say they didn't know." I walked to the door. Before leaving, I said one last thing. "Next time you post on Facebook, Madison, tag the FTC. They love receipts." The door closed behind me. Behind it, I heard Mom sobbing, Madison screaming, Dad whispering, "What have we done?" They had officially lost it in front of the entire extended family. And I drove back to Logan Square through the snow, radio blasting Taylor Swift's Anti-Hero, feeling for the first time like I was truly the hero of my own story. Just 1 week after the family court at Aunt Teresa's, I got a text from Mom. "Family meeting, your aunt's house, 7 p.m. Saturday. Be there." No punctuation, no greeting, just a command. I knew they were desperate. I showed up on time, still carrying the black folder like armor. Teresa's house was fuller this time. Uncle Bill, Aunt Diane, Grandma Gladys,
And most surprising, a stranger in his 50s wearing a North Face jacket, holding an iPad, standing by the table. Teresa introduced him. "Everyone, this is Ryan Carter, Senior Property Manager from Zillow Rental Manager. I asked him to come clarify a few things." Mom Lauren's face went white. Madison sat arms crossed, lips pursed like she was about to cry. Dad Mark looked 10 years older in 7 days. Ryan opened his iPad, professional Midwestern tone. "Good evening. Account 1427 Willow Creek Lane, Schaumburg. Current lease signed by Lauren Reynolds as primary tenant and Hailey Reynolds as co-signer guarantor. On January 10th, we received a formal removal request from Hailey Reynolds, supported by Illinois legal aid documentation proving change of residency and financial emancipation. Request approved. Effective February 1st, Hailey Reynolds is fully removed from the lease. From that date forward, Lauren Reynolds is the sole tenant and 100% liable for rent, late fees, and utilities." He turned the iPad so everyone could see. New contract with only Mom's signature. Ryan continued, emotionless. "Current status, January rent overdue, $2,400, and February, $2,400, already accruing.
Total past due as of today, $5,112, including late fees. Per Illinois law, if not paid within 14 days of formal notice, which I will serve tonight, we initiate eviction proceedings. Court date typically within 21-45 days. If judgment for landlord, sheriff lockout within 7 days after that." The air was sucked out of the room. Dad Mark started crying, actually crying, tears streaming down his face. "We're going to lose the house. 20 years of memories." He buried his face in his hands, shoulders shaking. Mom Lauren shot up, pointing at me. "You did this. You're evicting your own parents. You're throwing us out on the street in the middle of winter." Madison lunged forward, trying to grab my folder. "You fucking monster. You planned this whole thing." Teresa stepped in front, voice like a knife. "Sit down, both of you." Ryan raised a hand to stop it, still calm. "Ma'am, Hailey has zero legal obligation after February 1st. Any eviction will be solely due to non-payment by the remaining tenant, Lauren Reynolds." I stood up and looked straight at Mom. "You told me on Thanksgiving, if you're so smart, pay your own bills." I did. I paid mine. I stopped paying yours. This, I pointed to the eviction notice Ryan just placed on the table, this is your bills now, not mine. Mom screamed, voice breaking. "We have nowhere to go. Madison has no job. Your father's blood pressure." Madison cut in, tears streaming but still venomous. "I hope you're happy living in your roach-infested downtown shithole while we're homeless." Grandma Gladys, speaking for the first time, voice weak but firm. "Lauren, you gambled with your daughter's future and lost. Now you pay the dealer." Dad Mark looked up at me, eyes red. "Hailey, please, can't you just co-sign one more time, for old time's sake?" I looked at him, the man who taught me to ride a bike at Bussey Woods Park, who used to sneak me $20 when Mom wasn't looking, and felt only emptiness. "No, Dad, old times are over." Madison stormed out, slamming the door so hard the windows rattled. I heard her Jeep roar away into the snowy night. Mom collapsed into a chair, sobbing into her hands. "My baby girl hates me, my own flesh and blood." I turned to Ryan. "Thank you for coming on a Saturday night." He nodded and handed me a signed copy of the eviction notice. "You're free, Miss Reynolds, legally and financially." I hugged Teresa, kissed Grandma's cheek, and walked out. The cold wind hit my face, but I didn't shiver anymore. Behind me, I heard Mom screaming my name in desperation. But this time, I didn't turn back. They had officially lost the house, not because of me, but because they never learned to pay their own bills. And me? I drove back to Logan Square, radio cranked, singing along to Destiny's Child's Survivor, because I had survived, and I was the last one still standing when the whole family lost it completely. February 28th, just 4 days before the sheriff was scheduled to lock the Schaumburg house, I was heating up ramen in my tiny Wrigleyville studio, 300 square feet, $950 a month rent, the cheapest I could find near school, when the doorbell rang like a fire alarm. I looked through the peephole.
All three of them, standing in the hallway. Mom Lauren in an old coat, hair messy, eyes puffy. Dad Mark looking down, holding a Costco paper bag. Madison, arms crossed, scowling, fresh pink hair. I opened the door, but only a crack, blocking it with my foot. "No coming in," I said first. "Talk here." Mom immediately started crying, voice trembling. "Hailey, baby, they're throwing all our stuff onto the curb in 2 days. We have nowhere to go. Just co-sign the lease one more time. You're my daughter." Dad Mark stepped forward, voice hoarse from smoking again. "I'm so sorry, honey. I should have stopped your mom. I was scared. Please, just help us one last time. I'll get a second job, I swear." Madison was different. She snarled. "You think you're so smart, huh? Wait till our lawyer hears about this. Emotional distress, defamation, whatever. You'll be paying us for once."
I smirked. What lawyer? The one Mom was going to hire with a $400 overdraft in your account? Mom dropped to her knees in the hallway. I actually knelt, grabbing my leg through the door crack. "I'll do anything. I'll go to therapy. I'll pay you back every cent. Just don't let them take our home." That moment, a flood of old memories hit. Summer 2010, all of us grilling at Indiana Dunes Beach, Dad teaching me to flip burgers, Mom singing Sweet Home Chicago off-key, little Madison chasing me with a melting ice cream cone. Halloween 2014, Mom sewing my Hermione Granger costume, Dad driving the whole block trick-or-treating. 2017, when I got my UIC scholarship, the family celebrating at Portillo's, Mom hugging me crying, "My baby's going to college."
Those memories were beautiful and painful, but I still gently pushed Mom's hands away. "Get up, Mom. You're embarrassing yourself." I looked at all three of them and said clearly, for the last time, "Here are my boundaries. Take it or leave it. I will never co-sign, loan, Venmo, Zelle, or pay another bill for any of you. Ever. If you want a relationship with me someday, all three of you go to therapy. Real therapy, not just one session for show. I have the name of a financial abuse specialist. Get jobs. Real ones. Madison, DoorDash, Starbucks, whatever. Stop calling content creation when you have 400 followers. Pay back what you stole, even if it takes 10 years. I have the FTC report. Interest is running. Until those 4 things happen, this door and my life stays closed." Madison laughed bitterly. "You're gonna die alone, Hailey. No one will love you after this." I looked her in the eye, unflinching. "I'd rather die alone than live one more day as your credit card." Dad Mark broke down crying, louder this time. "I failed you as a father. I know that. I love you, kiddo." That "I love you" from Dad threw me for a second. I almost cried. But then I remembered his signature on the $12,000 loan for Madison's Coachella. "I love you too, Dad," I said, my voice cracking a little. But love isn't a blank check with my name on it. Mom was still on her knees, silent now, tears dripping onto the dirty hallway floor. I slowly closed the door. Madison banged a few more times, cursing. Mom sobbed my name. Dad whispered please over and over. I leaned against the door, slid down to the floor, hugged my knees and cried, but from relief. They stayed out there another 20 minutes. Then footsteps faded. Madison's Jeep roared away, Mom sobbing on Dad's shoulder. I opened my phone and blocked 3 more numbers. Done. My tiny, cold studio, $950 a month. But for the first time ever, it was completely mine. No spare key. No one demanding money. No one destroying my future. I stood up, opened a spotted cow from the fridge, and raised it like a toast to myself. To the last time they ever stand at my door begging. And I knew, even if they lost the house in 2 days, I wouldn't open the door again. Because I had chosen myself. And this time, I wasn't apologizing for it. March 3rd, 2025. Chicago got one last big snowstorm. 8 inches overnight, 40-mile-per-hour winds, -0 degrees Fahrenheit. Exactly 9 a.m.
The sheriff arrived at 1427 Willow Creek Lane, Schaumburg. I knew because I had marked the date the moment Ryan sent the final notice. I was making coffee in my Wrigleyville studio when my phone rang, unknown number, 847 area code. I put it on speaker, set it on the counter, and waited. Hello? Hailey? Mom, Lauren's voice, weak, hoarse from cold and crying, wind howling, trucks in the background. It's Mom. I borrowed the neighbor's phone. I stayed silent, let her talk. They're throwing everything onto the curb. The sofa Mom bought when you were in 8th grade, your old dresser's still in there, the Thanksgiving dining table, all soaked in snow now. It's just cardboard boxes and black trash bags piled up. Madison screaming and crying. Your dad and I are sitting in the snow, heads in our hands. I heard Madison distantly. This is all your fault. Then choking sobs. Mom continued, voice breaking. I just wanted to ask one last time. Are you happy? Do you feel good seeing your mom like this? I looked out my window. Snow blanketing everything, but my apartment was lit, warm, heat humming. I took a deep breath and answered, not angry, not triumphant, just honest. Mom, this isn't about me being happy because you're suffering. This is about me finally stopping suffering so you could live. I didn't throw your stuff on the curb. You did. Every time you forged my name, every time you chose Coachella tickets over my credit score, every time you said family first, but meant Hailey last. I still love you, all 3 of you. That's what makes this hurt so much. But love doesn't mean letting you destroy me. Love doesn't mean I have to light myself on fire to keep you warm. She sobbed uncontrollably. I heard Dad Mark whisper something. Then Mom said, voice so small it almost vanished in the wind, we're sleeping in a motel tonight if we have money. After that, I don't know. I closed my eyes and said the final words. If one day, one real day, you 3 go to therapy, get jobs, and start paying back even $50 a month toward the debt you put in my name, I'll pick up the phone. I'll listen. But until then, this is goodbye. I hope someday you pay your bills, the money ones and the emotional ones you owe me. Take care, Mom. I hung up before she could reply. I stood there a long time, tears rolling down, but they weren't tears of fear anymore. They were the tears of someone closing the darkest chapter of her life. 1 year later, May 2026, I stood on the UIC quad in my blue graduation gown under May sunshine. My credit score was back to 712. I'd paid off the first 4 fraud accounts, the rest in a hardship plan at $25 a month, but on my terms, not forced. I worked full-time as a social media manager for a Chicago nonprofit, salary enough to live, save, and go to therapy weekly. I joined an online support group, Children of Financial Abuse Survivors, 3,000 members, but we call each other real family. I still hadn't heard from Schaumburg. Rumors: Madison delivering for DoorDash at night, Mom a cashier at Walmart, Dad driving Uber. Other rumors: they still blame me in the family group chat. But no one dares tag me anymore. Graduation day, I stood alone taking photos in front of the sign, then opened selfie mode and spoke to the camera, to myself and to the millions who would watch later. I paid my bills, every single one. Tuition, rent, therapy, boundaries. And for the first time in my life, somebody else finally had to pay theirs. If you're watching this and you're still paying your family's bills with your future, stop. You are allowed to choose yourself. You are allowed to be free. Because I did. And I've never been warmer. I posted the video to TikTok and YouTube titled, My Parents and Sister Lost It When Mom Said, Pay Your Own Bills. Watch What I Did. Over 11 million views. Thousands of comments. This saved my life.
I just froze my credit because of you. Thank you for giving me permission. I read them all, smiled, and turned off my phone. Outside my window, Chicago was sliding into summer. Lake Michigan sparkled, warm wind blowing through Wrigleyville. I stepped onto the balcony and took a deep breath. They might change one day, or they might not. But I already had, and I was free. I paid my bills.
And they finally paid theirs.